So, welcome to the Holly Hughes Podcast. Today, I have the one, the only rock god, Rob Noxious of Killcode, and we are going to talk all things long-term rock and roll drummer career. So, thanks, Rob, for being on my show.
Of course, thank you for asking me. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm excited. I think we should tell people that we knew each other, we grew up on the same street from single digits.
Yes, we sure did, like maybe 5 houses away or something like that. My best friend, Johnny Esposito, was really close with your family and lived right across the street. So, yes, we go way back.
Yeah, I mean, that brings me to my first image of you. Besides being, you always had swag. Even as a little kid, you had swag. You were just born with it. What do they call it now? Riz, whatever. I'm old, so
I don't know
the
either.
best
I don't know
words,
what the
but
kids call it these days. And I never would have really been conscious of that, but thank you, I guess.
really,
Yeah, no,
shut up. I know I don't my idea of you is so different than your idea of you, but I remember the first time that I was aware that you played music, that you were a drummer is when you all dressed up like Kiss.
Oh wow. Yeah, like our parents used to have parties and stuff and we would yeah, I remember that vaguely, sure. I mean
He's like, don't
that's
bring
funny.
that up.
I mean I would guess you'd have to remember I played in the school band and elementary school and stuff like that. Concerts and stuff. Yeah, you see me up there with the big bass drum or something like that. I do remember the Kiss things. Yes, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. And we used to scream car because we played tennis in the middle of the street or
Yeah,
whatever we were
we played
doing.
everything in the middle of that street. Yeah. Twin Oaks Drive, baby. That was a really great place to grow up.
It is you. Okay, so I don't want to jump ahead. I want to kind of go chronologically with you. So I can't remember a time you weren't a musician. When did you actually start playing drums?
I'm going to say somewhere around second grade, when everybody has to, if you want to be in a school band or whatnot, you have to pick an instrument. I had picked drums. I was studying at that point with Mr. Colabella at Fort Salonga Elementary School, which, by the way, I see him still all the time, if you remember.
Really?
Yeah, he's still, he's not in town, but I go to lunch with him here and there. Great guy. One of the main reasons I excelled in music, let alone drums, is because I had such great teachers, and he was we'll get into that later, but he was the foundation of that. He directed me to the next, private teacher, whatever. But I mean, I was playing guitar as well, and I was taking lessons from a guy up the road on Twin Oaks Drive, but more up towards where Tommy McCabe lived, if you remember. And
with section 3, section 3.
Yeah, whatever. It was right by Heather Drive, if you remember that. But
Yeah.
So I was pretty damn good at that as well. And I do remember both of them, ironically, at the same time. And we were in elementary school. They both, and they didn't know each other, but they both came to me and they said, you're really, really good at both. You should seriously pick one that you just concentrate on and kick ass and focus on entirely. It doesn't mean you can't do the other as fun and whatever. And honestly, you bring up Kiss. I picked drums because I thought Peter Criss, the drummer of Kiss, was the coolest guy in the band. So I was like, all right, I'll go with drums. And that's when I just focused mainly on drums. Always and still do play guitar pretty well, actually.
Do you?
Yeah, enough to write music and help with things like that. With a lot of the bands I work with in their arrangements and stuff like that. I can. It's mainly by ear at this point, but I'm pretty damn good at it. But still, I'm a drummer. I'm better at drums. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was out to dinner the other night and I could tell there was a couple on a first date. And the guy was clearly a drummer because his feet were moving at different rhythms and his hand was twitching. I was like, oh, he's nervous, but that guy's a drummer.
Yeah. Well, it's a
cool.
habit. I don't do it as much, but even through elementary school, junior high, high school, I would you can literally practice as a drummer sitting at a desk because it's all coordination. They call it independence. You got two hands, you got 2 feet, and you want to do 4 different things at one time. So that's what they call independence. But you can practice all that stuff sitting at a desk. So it used to drive my teachers crazy because that's what I was doing all day.
No doubt. Wait, do you think you could actually teach someone that if they have no rhythm?
Absolutely. Look, I've taught little kids that you don't know if they have rhythm yet or not. First thing is finding if they're really interested, because you don't want their parents spending money if they're not really interested. And you can tell within the first 3 lessons if they go home and they learn what they're doing. But nowadays, unlike how I was taught, well, maybe not unlike, I really only know how to teach the way I was. And again, Tom Colavello was amazing. So like you would learn how to read music, real simple stuff at first, and he would always intertwine it like to the drum set. Again, remember we're learning on a snare drum and
Yeah, yeah.
for starts. But he would always take those quarter notes, which is the simplest of things, and then the eighth notes, which is the next thing, and he would find a popular song and he would write it out and say, sit at the drum set, do those quarter notes on your foot, do this on your snare, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, you're playing like Led Zeppelin. And you're like, holy shit, I'm really good at this. And it gets the kid, especially me, it gets you very intrigued. Yeah. So you want to practice, you want to excel, because I'm already playing.
It gave you the win. It gave you the win. Yeah,
right.
I love it.
Fast forward down the road, like the reason I can do some of the things I do today, which like show up and play with people that I don't know and just know a million songs, is because I can see it all on paper in my head, and it was all based on Mrs. Bittner and stuff like that. It's just.
Really, you could see it in your head as if it's like on I can, a G clef, like it's up there.
Yeah, like I can read charts, but like and you could write them out, and I could use them, but I don't. I get I'll get calls these days to fill in for a lot of cover bands, like I was telling you when we spoke, and it doesn't matter what reputation I have at this point, which is like this guy can show up and do it. They can't believe that you can until you do it. And I mean, I know thousands of songs, just from driving around with our parents in the car and listening to all that stuff we did growing up. That's why I say I can see it on paper, because in my head, because if I can't understand something, that's when I'll have to go to YouTube or something. But most of it all flows. It's all pop music, and it's structured simple enough that, like, if you know the theory, it's a rock beat or it's a disco beat, and you know the difference of those. It's really just verse, chorus, this, that, other thing, tempo, and that's it.
Oh my God, you just made me think, what was that movie about the drummer and it was a jazz beat? It was like a...
Oh, it wasn't... It came out not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell was it called? Great movie, yeah.
I should have looked that up. I can't believe I didn't think about that.
One of my favorite movies. What the hell was it called? Yeah.
He basically abused the crap out of him.
Yes, the teacher was like a drill sergeant. What the hell was it called? I've seen it a million times. I have to find it.
I'm going to look, because drumming movie, oh my God.
It's funny. I met that gentleman, the actor, the teacher, at an airport once when we were flying to Mexico. He was on the same flight.
Whiplash,
exactly. Great movie.
Were you ever in an environment like that? So you're pretty laid back, growing up around you. I would say you were always popular, right? Easy, laid back, had your swag, right? Like that was like what I saw of you. You never seemed unsure. But the other day you even said that you didn't feel any of that.
Well,
you didn't always feel like you fit in either.
Yeah, well, see, so I was also like an athlete, if you remember. And look, it was pretty easy.
Football. I remember football.
It was very easy for me to get through the high school thing. Unlike a lot of people, you'll always hear the stereotypical bullies and this, that, thing. I had an older brother and I had an older sister. Jeannie wasn't too far off. She was only 3 years older than me. And everybody knew I had, basically older brothers that, nobody messed with me. So I can't, it wasn't an uncomfortable thing like people picked on me, but like when we started getting into high school and I started dating like Kerry, all the older jocks and stuff, hated the fact that I was, and I was a good enough athlete.
So someone is still talking about it. There's someone still talking about it. I'm like, let it go, man. It was high school.
Yeah. And they still do, but anyway, I guess the point I'm making is I was always accepted with the athletic thing, and then I had my brothers and sisters, so nobody picked on me, even if they just were jealous of for some reason. But as far as a musician goes, I just never felt accepted in this town. because everybody just feels like, you know, you're not going to go anywhere with it. I mean, don't get me wrong. You knew my parents. My parents were very supportive. But even my mom, who's the most supportive one at all, even with my hair in like high school and stuff, she would always make me have at least that stupid, you know, like mullet cut where at least the top of it was kind of short, and she would never let. And she's like, you're not playing on stages yet, so I don't want to hear it. You got to kind of have like short hair. And my father was more like, yeah, short hair, short hair. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they always really supported what I did. And after high school, they sent me. You know, I went to 1 year of community college at Suffolk out here, and I was a music major. I had one English class and all music classes, and I chose not to even go to English and got an incomplete. So I was really a part-time student. But I found this school in Hollywood that was just, it was a complete drum school. It was a tech school, and you went there, and like the teachers there were like very famous, and it was obvious like, yeah, I want to go there. So even my father at that point, he's like, okay, it's a year school. There's no dorms. We'll pay your rent. We'll get you out there, whatever. But after that year, you're on your own if you want to stay there, or you come home and you get a real job, whatever. So obviously, I had within a year met enough people. I started getting work like in the film industry and TV industry and stuff at the studios in Hollywood. And again, that's just all from networking. So I stayed, and you know, that school, I met a lot of people, and I was able to get a lot of work right out of right. I mean, we're talking when I'm 19 years old, you know, in Hollywood, living on my own, and I stayed. And
That's insane. Wait, especially Hollywood then is not like what it is
no, yeah,
now.
it was
It was
1989. It was pretty crazy. Like, you know, in other words, I used to say, you know, we had friends
So
up.
wait, did you land in actually Hollywood? Were you in like what part of town were you
Well,
in?
right. And it's funny. I just played in Hollywood recently. I was able to go back, and we did a pretty decent show in the heart of Hollywood. And I went to visit my very first apartment. So if you're familiar, obviously you are. I lived Franklin and Gower, basically, when I first moved
Shut
there.
up.
Yeah, 6,000 Franklin was my first apartment.
Shut
So I
up.
just got a whole bunch of pictures out in front of it. And my school was like McCadden and Hollywood Boulevard. So I would walk Hollywood Boulevard every day and back to go to that school.
Okay, so if people don't know LA, it's like he is literally in the middle of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And back in the day, so when I mean, I moved out there, I was 22. So you had a couple of years on me, right? I think I was 20. Yeah, 22. And I started working at Chanticleer Films that was on Hollywood and Vine, which I thought was
Yeah.
right near the Frolic Room. It was right
I
by
love the Frolic
Capitol
Room.
Records.
The Frolic Room was my favorite, craziest little place in the world.
Little but back in the day, like Hollywood was, I don't, I mean, LA's got a whole different thing, but the early 90s in LA, I mean, it was a moment. Like
A lot
every
of
part
fun.
of town has yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of different stuff. So many bars to play at the time. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the hard things is like after living there for so long, like being able to go hear live music was so easy. You could go to 1,000 places in whatever part of town you were in.
Yeah, it was crazy. And that's so like that wasn't West Hollywood. It wasn't the Sunset Strip. As time went on and my lease would come up, I'd start gradually moving more towards, well, like first I went to Las Palmas, then like Buena Vista. Next thing you know, I'm like living down on the Sunset Strip. And I did get to play, you know, at that point, like the Whiskey and the Roxy and all that stuff. So I can say I did all. I used to hang out at the Rainbow all the time. I basically lived there. I mean, it was a fun
I'm like,
time.
I can't like, so when I was in production, right, I was working 14, 16, 20 hours, like I was working. So everyone's like, didn't you party? I'm like, man, I was working.
Yeah,
Like
you didn't really
when
have
you're
the
on
time.
set,
Yeah, you didn't really have
I didn't
time.
get to have the fun like that. I don't know if I was even that
I
fun.
mean,
But
at that point,
that's
I
cool.
was working at a place called Hollywood Center Studios, which was like right at Las Palmas
Yeah, yeah.
and Santa
Yeah.
Monica Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had shot all kinds of things there back in the day, and like Jeopardy was on my lot and all that stuff. But they were part of KTLA at that point, also. So I worked at KTLA television lot a lot, and also at Hollywood Center Studios. But I worked for, you know, the I worked for the studios. I didn't work like on the films as far as like getting
Right.
like, but as time went on, I met all those people, and that's what I started falling into, was getting picked up to work a film or a commercial or whatnot. I met a lot of line
I get that.
producers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing. That's why I left. I was like, this is not why I'm here. I do not want to be doing this. I want to be creative.
It's all
This is
freelancing. Like
one nightmare after another all day long.
I would pick up jobs like in the art department on like
Mhm.
Schwarzenegger movies, and the next thing you know, I'm a grip. I know some people won't even understand what we're talking about, but like, you know how those things are. Like, there's an air conditioner and it needs to be moved. There's 20,000 people looking at it. They know it needs to be moved, but can't move it until the grips come. The grips have to move it. It's like ridiculous, but
Mhm.
that's the world we lived in. So I was very fortunate.
There's so many good old jokes about grips. I don't think they're like acceptable nowadays. I can't
Probably
repeat
not.
any of them. Okay, so you're like day playing and you're like working on stuff, which is really cool. So how do you like start moving into building your career as a musician? Did you ever do like session work there?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and still do. Again, it's all who you know. I used to say, so if you go back to the way Mr. Colabella taught me, and then he had me go to this lady Ann Peterson in junior high, and then I had this guy Murray Hooliff in like high school, and I kind of had a little band out here. When I moved out there and I went to that school, um, I I could, the way the school was structured was you punch in and you had 24 hours to punch out. If as long as you did that, you were an absent. Number one. Number two, you had 5 main classes, one of them each day of the week, whether it was reading, jazz, Latin, odd meter, whatever they may be. And then you had what was called a reading class that was a half hour. So one class was an hour, one class was a half hour, but you had full. You could go into this school anytime you wanted. You could rehearse in the rooms. You put bands together. You had to do like live playing things for credits each 10 weeks. My point is, every 3 weeks before the end of a phase, they would give you what's on your final. So like I could read my way through this whole thing. And instead of going to these classes, I went to all these open workshops that had like real famous people that were just sitting in a room that are there to either help you with your tests or just talk business with them. I become friendly with a lot of these people. Next thing you know, I'm jamming with some of them. And by the time that school ended, I was getting work with like people like Billy Sheehan, who I don't know if you know who he is, but he played with David Lee Roth. He's like a monster bass player. There was a guy named Tim Bogart. Like it was all referrals, but because of what I showed them and just got along with them, I was getting session work, and I started my own band. And the band I started actually had a record deal. When there were record deals, it was like 1990. We were signed to what the heck was the name of it? It was Madonna's record label. She just opened it.
Oh yeah.
We recorded an album and the whole thing, and then we got dropped like everybody else. But that's when I was playing like the Roxy, and then I got in another band, and they were more like alternative, and we wound up going to Europe and stuff like that. So I really can't explain how it happened. It was like a whirlwind, but like everything just started happening at once. And when I was home, I would work. One of the guys I was playing with worked with me, and basically was my manager at the Hollywood Center studio. So like, if we were home, he gave me hours. If we were not there, we were both not there. You know what I mean? So I didn't have a care in the world. You know, I didn't have any kids. I didn't have anything like that. So it was just like go wherever. It was almost like being a gypsy. And home base was Hollywood. You know what I mean? But that's how I got into
I
all
think
that
it's
stuff.
like, well, you're very easy to get along with. So you're like, you have that, right? So you meet people, whatever, but you were in a good place at the right time in like a magical kind of like the music then, right? There was like so many different genres that were
Yeah,
really
like
starting
grunge
to
was
kind of
about to come
go.
out. The hair metal. I think the point I was trying to make was most of the guys I went to school with, you had a drum lab too, and you could be there 24 hours. These guys would like, they wouldn't go out a lot up against, I need to practice. Me, I was like, I can read my way through this crap already. I want to go meet rock stars. I want to mingle. And I didn't realize from a business perspective at the time, it was called networking. I thought I was just partying. You know what I mean? But
Oh,
I
you
have,
were partying. Come
well,
on.
right. But like during that partying, I rubbed elbows with some really killer people that I still talk to today and have thrown me some crazy work, both in the movie industry and in the music industry. You know?
I love that. I can't believe we didn't know that we were both out there
No,
at the
we
same
didn't. We did it
time.
for so many years. Like that blew me away. That upsets me actually because we would have had a lot of fun.
Yeah, you would have pulled me out. He'd been like, yeah, you're working too hard. I'm like, come here. I would have done anything for some of that.
Yeah, and
That
who
would have
knows? When
been
you wrapped
good.
one thing, we might have wound up working together at times too, because that's just how that all worked. I'm pretty sure that's how
It's all
Hollywood
good.
still works, but it is what it is.
Oh, for sure.
It was a big time in my
Okay.
life, and some days I go, I look at all the people we grew up with, and they got married young, and they started their, you know, I can't even explain it. They did everything right, in other words, and like there was a
Nah.
good 15 years I didn't do any of that stuff. But at the end of the day, now they look at me like, oh man, I wish I had your life, and they're old and bored.
I don't ever think I think that was part of my thing why I didn't fit in. I'm like, why is that the only way to do it? That's not like obviously there was the pressure to do good. That was like the pressure of like what I felt in my house. You have to do better than we did. You have to do better, right? That
Right.
was like the culture inside the house. But I think like I live in the South now and people get married really young now and they have babies really young. And I'm like, or hear me out. You go figure out who you are, you go explore the world, make some mistakes, fail, try again, go see the world while you only don't really have any responsibility.
That's
And
exactly right.
then you still had kids way before me though. Like
Yeah, and
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying for a guy who lived a rock and roll
I
lifestyle,
did.
you have a big family.
I did, and it started at when I was 30. Which compared to who we grew up with, that's late. But it was a
Mm.
little too early for me as well. Look, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love my daughters. But it didn't. It definitely put a stop to what I was doing for a little while. I had to recalculate. I was telling you, like there was a period there where technically I quit playing professionally and I started my own drumstick business and I had a day job. There was just no time to commit to being
Yeah.
in the rock and roll scene. So you had that whole thing, and somehow I wound up inventing like these grips for drumsticks, and I was able to get it off the ground. I was selling the stuff globally, um, big orders to like South Korea, Europe, stuff like that. And back then, it was before YouTube and stuff. It was really no way to market it the way you could market today. So it was all trade shows, and again, meeting people. I met a ton of drummers because I was endorsing some pretty big, stars and stuff like Tim McGraw's drummer and stuff like that. Um, and that all went away when my partner just wasn't doing anything and I was doing everything. I got tired of doing everything for half the money. I tried to take the company alone when I moved back to New York, um, but it was just too much to do. And I went back to playing because I kind of needed money, and that's when I started playing again. And the second the second leg of my
Yeah,
career has
I
been
remember
great.
the name. It was called Unigrips. I
Yep.
just love it. Like
Yep.
Unigrips. We
Yeah.
might have to resurrect it. You
Well,
got time now.
the funny thing is, I still have a basement full of these things, and I can't personally play a round drumstick ever again. Like, I have, I'm the only one who has them at this point. But yeah, I was selling them Sam Ash, Guitar Center. We were all over the place. So that's an odd story. But like the way that all came to be, and this is pretty funny. You talk about thinking out of the box and how you can make shit happen. Um, I had a buddy who was a drummer out there, which I had a million of them. He had a cleaning company. He cleaned some like movie. He cleaned carpets and floors, and he had some. One of his clients was huge movie star, the guy from The Godfather, Marlon Brando. Used to play chess with
Marlon
Marlon
Brando.
Brando, right? So he had accounts like that, and then he also had like corporate accounts. And he had this thing was like a bartering system. Like you wouldn't like me and you barter per se, but you would go clean somebody's limos or something, and then like if you wanted to use the barter system, if they were within it, you could use it for something else. Make a long story short, I had a dream, and it was when we were really young. Like I could have, I don't even know it was a dream. I could have swore I seen one of these things, and basically when I moved to Hollywood, their MTV started doing like that unplugged show where all the bands would come on and play like acoustic, and there would ProMark drumsticks made this thing that's called the hot rod, and it's a bunch of doweled like little say bamboo. They're not bamboo, but say birch sticks, and they're shrink wrapped together. And the way they form, it causes a hexagrip, which like kind of fits right in your digits of your finger. Mm-hmm. Way before that, I could have swore I saw one growing up, like, but it was a yellow grip that you put on a stick, so now you could play it loud. I did like patent searches at the time, and we had to get a lawyer, which the whole barter thing will come into play. This is why I have had the partner in the first place. And I kept telling him, like, there's no way. It's out there. I saw it like 15, 20 years ago when I was a kid. And sure enough, there wasn't. So she's like, let's go for a patent. So we bartered this woman to do like a $23,000 patent, which we were never going to clean those carpets and floors to ever pay that back. But sure enough, we got the patent. And that's how that whole damn thing started.
I love that.
Yep. That's how it all started.
That's insane.
Yeah, like you can't really put a business plan like that together. All you can do is take advantage and make moves on opportunities that are in front of you. You know what I mean? And that's how that all came to be. And honestly, he was the one like, hey, you can get a patent. B, I got a lawyer that can help us. So down the road, I wound up having a couple of other patents on a couple of products. I won't go into too much detail, but I wrote the patents myself. Because I saw how she did it and whatever, and I didn't have to pay all that money. All I had to do was pay the filing fees. So that company was insane. You know, we were in existence for a good 10, 15 years. We used to do all the NAMM shows and stuff, and it was a really cool period of my life.
But you were always making music. So I want to talk about, like, I'm assuming you write your own music too?
I have. It depends on the situation. Like I always tell myself, I'm still sitting on like a whole bunch of music that I wrote on my own that's never been used with any of the projects I've been involved in and whatever. And one of these days, I'm going to get in the studio and I'm going to make my own album. And I'll get a bunch of guest players, that people I know that are somewhat famous to like sing on this song and play guitar in this song. But yeah, my whole thing is, I learned at that point when I got out of the Unigrip thing that I need to make some cash. So I need to take advantage of the fact that I can play almost anything and play in cover bands, because cover bands get cash and they go home. They don't go on a bus and don't come home for 3 months and then wait for checks or things like that. But I always had to have this creative side to me. So I always needed to be involved in like an original band. And when I moved back, I was in several of them, like I explained, in Hollywood, and some of them were successful, but it was a whole different business then. Business totally changed. When I came back here, I needed to have both avenues. So this is probably, to time it, stamp it, my world, not my world, MySpace was the thing. It wasn't even Facebook yet. And there was a band forming that was in a couple of different pretty well-known bands from the New York scene. And all those bands fell apart, and there was a band forming, and they were looking to get a drummer. So they weren't a band yet. They didn't even have a name, but I recognized who they came from. And my whole thing was, at that point, I need a cover band to make some money, and I need to have my creative outlet. And at the same time, these guys look like we'll at least get to play some of the big rooms in the city, and I'll get noticed and spin that off into another big gig. Just while I'm trying to get my... being from here, you would think it would be easy to move back. But I moved out there at a time where I was so young still. I didn't do anything with anybody out here. Nobody knew who the fuck I was. You know what I mean? So I needed that, and in all reality, and we put together. That's when Killcode was formed, and it just is. It's five guys that had no business meeting each other, and we did, and we wound up just kicking ass right out of the gate. We all had really good connections. Some of our big first shows were like at the Rhode Island, like Dunkin' Donuts Arena, like opening for Godsmack and stuff like that. It was ridiculous.
That's insane.
And every opportunity we ever got, we showed up and we kicked ass. So we doubled our fan base. All the opportunities we wound up getting down the road in Europe and all that, all those big festivals. Most of them were to strangers, but then we kicked butt and everybody liked us. But yes, that's all original, and we all write the music together. And you know, we would get in a room, and this guy would have. There's no like equation to it, but somebody would have an idea, and then we just start playing, and all of a sudden it becomes a song. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I help with lyrics, sometimes I don't have to. It all depends on it. But together we write really well. Without each other, it's not the same, you know. So. Yeah. Knock on wood, that's been my bread and butter. We've been able to land some and here's where the money is nowadays is all in publishing, and we've been able to get some TV spots and some good movie spots and stuff like that. So.
Well, that's cool. Like, so if people aren't familiar with Killcode, I can tell you, like, your music is like, you know, it's rock, it's like hard, right? But then you also have sketch, and then you have the wrong side, which is chill.
Wow, like you did your homework. Yeah, you did your homework. So right, yeah, the name Killcode itself sounds a lot heavier than the band is. But yeah, so Skitch, it's funny you bring up Skitch. Skitch, that song actually was the first song we ever got in a TV show. So I still get a little bit of checks from that song. And then we have beautiful songs like The Wrong Side. See, there's no rhyme or reason to it. You would think The Wrong Side would be making me tons of money. It's not. Skitch is, you know. And then we have another song, Bleed, that just came out in the new Schwarzenegger movie. Stallone movie. It's called, the movie's called Armor. The movie's called Armor, yeah. It came out in like November or something. It's probably already right to streaming. But I'm already seeing checks for that. So you never know, you know. But we never wrote anything like this is one we want to send to a movie. Like we just have a publishing company, and they pitch all our shit. You know what I mean? And they find placement for it.
So how do you not get screwed by that? Like honestly, right? It was like because a lot of people sign that, like new artists nowadays. I'm watching because of TV shows, or they'll hit a viral moment on social media. And I always leave in the comments, keep your rights. Like don't give those away. Mm-hmm. But that's a hard thing for people to be like, not get sucked into. So how did you all keep your head straight with that? Like how did you not get sucked into getting fooled?
The way the business was changing, and it was changing so fast, and I'll be honest with you, the way the business has changed, like since Killcode formed, say, this guy like 15, 16 years. The friggin' business already has changed like 3 times. Yes, no matter how the business changes, you have to keep your rights. So you have to copyright your stuff on your own. Don't let a label get involved in any of that. Every time you release a piece of music, you make sure that you guys, in our case, is 5 Ways, our names are on it. And now that, not to beat a horse, but like,
do you all split it even, or is it like the person who wrote this? Like, do you have any of that?
We're all 5 Ways, 20%. So
love it.
Then the streaming thing came in where nobody was buying downloads and you could stream shit. And now they've made it where you do get paid for streaming. So like YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. YouTube is basically like a TV channel now. So if your songs hit a certain amount of spins, they start throwing advertisements on it. And sure, people can skip the advertisement. But once you start seeing that, that means you're generating money. You know, so it's all based on how many subscribers we have, which, by the way, everybody please sign up for Killcode Band at YouTube, because we really don't have a lot of people on there. It's crazy. We got 1 million fans and people just don't hit that subscribe button. But you get money for the amount of people you have on there, and then the amount of hours your spins are, and then each individual thing. And the same thing with like Spotify and stuff like that. So we do see incremental checks, but it's funny if I showed you like my quarterly things, like you get 10 cents for this song from this amount of spins, but it adds up. The TV shows and the movies are the big things. And
Yeah,
see,
that's a really smart way to do it. People
so
ask me about my book. They're like, how much money are you making on that book? I'm like, baby, like an ebook, you get like a fraction of a penny a page.
right.
Like
So in my case, like that's why I say the money's more with the TV and stuff because we have a publishing company. He pitches our stuff. If he lands somebody who wants it, you basically get a sign-on fee. So you get money up front for them to use your music, number one. Number two, then it starts being put into the theater or whatever it may be on TV, and then you'll start seeing it goes to Hulu or whatever. So your state will say like, the Rookie is one of the shows we're on, and now it's being aired on Hulu and whatever. So like this month, this many spins on Hulu or Netflix or whatever, and that's where we go. But you get money up front for putting it in there. Now you have to protect your publishing. We pay the publicist probably 10% to land it. So he gets 10% of our sign-on fee, and then I don't even think he gets 10% of the royalties. So he basically just gets the sign-on. But it's like anything else. It's all how you sign the deal. If he puts in that deal, he's taking 50% of it, and you take it. You're giving him 50% of it.
Yeah, you got to be tough. You got to know how to say no.
Yes.
During those things because it's so excited. You're like, oh my God, I'm discovered. I know. It's like when people are like, hey, can you work for free? No. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to.
Right.
But thanks for asking. It's like, man, don't ask artists to work for free. It's a lot of work, man. We do a lot of work.
It's not right.
I think it's like, I was thinking of Napster. I think Napster changed a lot in the music industry.
And so that was the beginning of people being able to stream and listen to your stuff without having to purchase it. And thankfully, down the road, somebody changed something in Congress or whatever, and you do get paid for streaming now. But the streaming platforms were smart, and they went out and just like a TV station, they get people to pay for advertisement. Yeah. So that's why, like, if you start seeing advertisements on your stuff on YouTube, that means you're starting to generate some sort of money,
So like, how did you do like family and music? Like, I know you sacrifice some of the music to like be the man, like, cause no one could like ever say that you're not a mensch, right? Like you're a good man. So like, how did that like feel for you? Like that balancing routine being like, I have to be responsible, so I can't quite do this part of the business anymore. How did that feel?
Yeah, this is a great conversation because it's going to bleed into what we were just discussing. So again, I really only have success and know what not to do based on mistakes. So I had mentioned when I started having the kids, I had to I fell into this situation where I was going to start my own company. I couldn't do a band or be a musician out at night. Put the extra time after my day job into all three things. So I had a day job, which I had to keep for, insurance and stuff for the kids. And I had chose to start my own business with my extra time. I got hurt on my day job. I wound up getting workers' comp at a killer time because I was able to take that time and really get the business moving. And then it got to the point, during that time, I would get a lot of people asking me, you want to work, you want to play this, you want to do this gig, you want to do this album, you want to do this. And I got really good at saying no because honestly, I had to say no. I don't have the time. And I'm not the type of guy who's going to dick somebody along and say I have the time and then do it half-assed. When you say no, like we were just talking about, all of a sudden my rates went up because people would come back, go, what if we pay you more? And believe me, in that time where I said no, there's probably a few things I probably shouldn't have said no to that were great opportunities.
Wait, do we want to bring up Puddle of Mud? Because this is like I don't know how you didn't do that.
That's one of them. It was during that time, and the guy's name from Puddle of Mud is Wes. So Wes is
Okay.
just some other guy. Everybody knows that I don't know him, but he's got a band and he got signed by Capitol or whatever it was, and they need a drummer, and he's got a $1 million deal, and they'll pay you this much to go in and do the album. And again, there's so many people at that point. This is like 2001, something, 2002. People are just getting screwed by the record label. So I didn't even want to hear that. And I said, if I would record the album, I remember saying, but I want like $5,000 and I don't want anything to do with the future because there ain't going to be no future. You know what I mean? So they were like, no, we want a guy to come in and be the drummer. It's that type of band. I said, I understand, so I'll pass. And we all know what happened with Puddle of Mud. They became a huge band. So, like, I was very confident that I made the right decision. But, at the time, it was the right decision because I probably couldn't have got on a bus and gone anywhere. So, that like I said, most cases saying no helped me. But in that case, I probably lost a decent amount of money. And even today, now, with all the streams of their music and stuff, if I was the guy in those videos, I'd be getting some really good checks. But I don't.
But you've had a good life, so
yeah,
I just remember hearing that. I was like, "What? You didn't go to Puddle of Mud? What are you thinking?"
I don't regret it. I at the same time, around that time, I ghost drummed on a whole bunch of really popular groups, and I got paid fat money, like just to be the ghost drummer and walk away. Signed the contract to never say I was their drummer for like 20 years or whatever.
Oh my God. So like for people
really
who are like interested in doing that, like what kind of money is that? Like if you don't want to say, you could just give me like
at that
not
point,
your numbers, but around.
So this one band who like they were friggin' huge, youngsters. They were way younger than us even at the time. And now they're already, you could put them in the category of the washed up, but comes out once in a while and still sells out like really big theaters and stuff. They have millions of streams on their videos and stuff. At the time, it was only really a question of like 3 songs that they needed done that the young drummer was like, believe me, this kid's better than me. He's a psycho drummer, but he wasn't inclined to really playing to a click and the style they wanted for those particular songs. And I had met the producer of the album playing with this other psycho band called So Human. That the drum stuff in it was incredible. It was like, and that's pretty much the gig that broke me out of retirement, because when I had Unigrip, I was trying to get every one of my endorsers to go audition for this band. It's like a record label. I would get 1 million bands that would send me stuff. And I was blown away by the talent in this band and the songs in this band. And I would go to some of my biggest players, like Nick Menza from Megadeth, and bless his soul, he's not with us anymore. But like, he's like, I don't even think I could play this stuff. I'm too old. I don't want to do it. So like, I wound up just going down to the auditions, just to see if I could pull it off. And I got the gig, So next thing you know, I'm like I was on a bus with these guys and opening up for bands like Mudvayne and whatnot. So that producer who I recorded some songs with for their album wound up the producer for this band that I'm speaking of. And he was the one who was obviously hitting the wall time-wise and money-wise with the young drummer. And he knew I could play to a click. He knew I could do that style. It's just, again, it all lined up. So he's like, would you come down? And I negotiated $1,000 a song. And that's what I got.
I love it.
So I made $3,000 to record 3 of their biggest songs. And, if I was that drummer, I'd probably have about $3 million. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
So if you do that, do you not get a part of the back end because you're not?
No, well, again, it's all what you signed. And it's funny you say that because it's, the 20-year mark had come up and they wanted me to re-sign it because they were going back on the road, like as a reunion thing. And I did re-sign it for another 5 years, but I'm getting ready to renegotiate that because I want a piece of the spins. And I want back pay on the spin. So I'm talking with a lawyer on that. Now, they may tell me to go scratch, we don't care anymore. You can tell everybody it was you, or they could cut me in on that. I mean, I would imagine deals.
It just makes sense to cut you in at this point, doesn't it? It really does.
It might.
I mean, not that anyone in the industry does that.
I won't get another lump sum of money. I'll just start getting points on the spins and all that stuff. It's pretty wild.
Okay, so
I'll tell you. I'll tell you offline who they are. And then there's
yeah.
been a
I
couple
think I
other ones.
remember who it is
There's been a
actually.
couple of there's been a couple of other ones because of thanks to that producer. You know, I can't really mention their names either. They weren't as poppy and as big as these guys became, but they were pretty damn popular and they're pretty good bands. And I made the same amount of money about it. You know, that became my rate at the time. But this is like 20
Love it.
something years ago. So, I mean, now that rate would probably be 7 to 10 grand a song for a
Yeah, I
situation
was like,
like
add a
that.
zero, man. You would
Yeah,
need to add a
yeah.
zero.
You gotta remember,
So
at that
what's
time, it
it
was
like
good
to
money.
play if there's a big money then? So what's it like to play a festival? I always wondered what it's like on stage compared to like being out there.
It's a
What, like
pisser.
when so many people are coming and going.
It's a
Is
pisser.
it?
So it's
I
like,
haven't heard that word in forever.
first of all, you're playing with bands that you idolize, and you can't even believe, like, especially when you're in Europe, you're playing with bands you haven't even thought of, but you saw as a little kid at the Coliseum and stuff like that, because they're still big out there, and they're the main ones. I mean, look, we toured with Twisted Sister when we were little kids watching MTV. Like, who wasn't waiting for Dee Snider to come on TV, you know? Now I know these guys. But so, as far as playing in front of all that many people, I'd say the biggest show that I can recall we did was in Mexico City, honestly, and it was like 60,000 people. And we were kind of early on in the night, not way early, but by the time the main bands went on, the last bands went on, like Rammstein and stuff, it was 85,000 people, I think, was the max. So we play in front of like 60,000 people. It's not even real. You know, they have the Jumbotrons, you're on the Jumbotrons. You see all these people. I tell you, it's more nerve-wracking playing in front of 10 people in a little room because you can't really communicate with these people. It's so massive. And it's fun. Like, you're just bouncing around, watching other bands, staying in hotels. You meet a lot of cool people. I've made a lot of friends all over the world, and you know, we've been fortunate to go back to Germany several times, and the UK several times, and Switzerland, and out there it's kind of small. So you meet people like in Spain that are from Germany and vice versa, whatever. So now I've got a lot of really, really great friends and good relationships of people that they're not just, you know, they're not just fans. They started out as fans, but they become friends. You know? The big thing about Killcode
I
is
can't.
it's a big family. You know, we love them just as much as they love us. So, you know, we hang out with them. You know, we walk around the campgrounds because most of those things they camp for 3 days.
Yeah.
We'll go walk around and drink with them at their tents and shit. And that goes a long way, man. People are like, oh, those are those guys. They hung out with us. We got to get over and see. You know, they come to your merch booth, buy all your stuff. So it's a lot of fun to answer that
Do you make
question.
good money as a musician with merch? Like, do you guys get a good part of that? I think I
We
remember
can
someone once told me that
we
that's where you make your most money.
Yeah, for the most part, we control all our merch and all our publishing. But when you do festivals like that, you can't run your own merch table. Kind of like even some of the smaller places out here, like even the Coliseum or Jones Beach or whatever, the venue gets a piece of it because they're running your merch. So you count it off, you give it to them, their people run it, and at the end of the night, they take their piece, like 15%, and you get the rest. But it's still, it's good money.
I
Yeah.
like that. I'm still trying to imagine like being on a stage with like 60,000 people in front of me. I
mean,
don't
I know
know.
you looked at some videos and stuff. This is one video of us before we go on that in that show in Mexico City, and we're standing backstage waiting to be announced, and we're looking out like this is fucked up. Like, you see how many fucking people are out there? Are they even gonna like us? You know, like it's pretty crazy. But like,
I can't.
I'll tell you what it's like. You remember when you were a kid? And
Do you feel safer because you're behind the drums? Like, you know, you're kind of back in that,
I
or
guess.
is it just as
I guess,
intense?
but the
Yeah.
adrenaline starts going and stuff, and you just do your thing, you know. And like I said, it's not like playing in front of 10 people where they're staring at you, watching every note. You made a mistake or something like that. It's just a free for all. I tell you, the feeling is kind of like it's like when we were kids and you went to like Great Adventure or something, and you went on the best roller coaster you ever went on, and you like went in the loops, and you come off with this adrenaline high. That's what it feels like. It's like, did that just
I'm gonna
happen?
guess it's better than that.
Yeah, it might
It's
be.
all
I mean,
good.
it's just like, did that happen? Like that was just insane. And they're screaming back at you. Like we always have this thing, because honestly, my singer Tommy, he comes from like a hip hop background, so he loves hip hop. He used to be a break dancer and all this stuff. Nobody knows that. He came up with
No,
this
they
little.
do.
He came up with this little glitchy thing we used to do in New York City a lot. And he say, "When I say kill, you say code." Kill, and everybody goes code, and like you do it in front of, and they don't even know who you are, but they love interacting and doing it. You get 60,000 people yelling code. It's like it's pretty fucking crazy. It feels good.
That is awesome. I'm no doubt. All right. So going from feeling good to like knowing that we're now past or in our middle age, how do you physically manage like touring and how do you physically handle being a drummer? Because that is all your body going. Like I know how much PT I require. Like, just getting out of bed, I'm like, every part of me cracks. I've got 1,000 old injuries from dancing. So you still are super active as a drummer. So what do you have to do to take care of yourself physically to keep going?
Huh. Good question. I mean, I've been better at it at times. There's definitely you should be staying in shape. I mean, what I do is pretty vigorous, especially in front of those big crowds. But I mean, like it all depends. Like we've been fortunate. We've never really been that band that gets in a van or a bus even and tours 50 cities and it gets exhausting. You get sick of each other or whatever. We do a lot of what's called fly dates, where we'll fly. Like one summer, we flew to Germany. I mean, to Europe 7 different times. Now we could have stayed out there for 2 months and just did it, but like the festivals pay for the flights, so we'll fly out for like 3-4 days, play a huge show, and if at a festival, fly home, recoup, go back out 10 days later, do it again. But either way, it's exhausting, and you have to stay in shape. So like, do I work out? I don't work out like a muscle guy, but like I do a lot of running for cardio. For me, it's more stamina. As I've gotten older, I definitely have like arthritis in my hips. I have like arthritis in my ankles and stuff like that. I feel fine when I start moving. It doesn't really bother me when I'm playing, but the next day I feel like an old man because you overexert yourself when you're in front of all those people, and you forget how old you are. So I always say, like, okay, I'll be right back. I got to go act like a 16-year-old for about an hour, and I'll see you after the show. But that's pretty much what you're doing, and your body doesn't heal, the way it used to. Like you used to go work out and you'd feel sore for a day if you did your chest, and then it goes away. Now it's more like 2 or 3 days that it's hurting. So when you're not active, you got to kind of stay on top of your stuff. I I eat a lot healthier. I'm a lot more conscious of that stuff. Um, I do take some supplements, but nothing crazy. That's that's it. Drink a lot of coffee.
So like, do you have like a biggest fear of like of not being able to like play? Like what like I think if I were you, I'd be worried about getting arthritis in my hands.
Yeah, fortunately, none in my hands. A lot in my hips. Starting to get it in my feet. Of course, there's some stuff with my arms at night. They'll go numb and stuff like that. This is all wear and tear. I mean, my fingers, like, they're bent. They're not even straight anymore, but they don't hurt.
Wait, mine are bent and I don't do that.
Oh,
I'm
there
just
you
born
go.
that way.
I don't know. But, yeah,
What you're telling me I'm a
I,
secret drummer or musician?
I,
I
I,
just never
I do
knew.
fear it. And that's why, like, as time goes on, I don't fear that I couldn't make money playing my drums for the rest of my life, but at certain levels, no. Like I could probably do what I'm doing with Killcode for some time still. But if you ask me to join like Metallica right now, I don't know if I could physically pull off a tour with Metallica. Probably be hurting pretty bad. So I don't think I would even consider taking it. But yeah, and as I get older and older, I would probably tone down those type of big events and just do the smaller things. And unlike an athlete,
All right, so
I should be able to do it for a long time. It's not like I'm a football
good.
player.
So are you going to be touring anytime soon, like in winter or anything?
Where
Any
am I
plans, or
going?
it's too soon to know?
Next summer we have a lot more stuff back in Europe. It's odd because like we've had more success with Killcode overseas, like in the States after all this time we've yet to really done like the Southeast. We've done California, we've done South Dakota, we've done, we even go to Puerto Rico quite often. So it's not that we don't have fan bases down there. It's just the money that's been offered has never really been appeasing to go. But tour wise, like I think it's next summer mainly is going to be Europe again. There may be a few Mexico things that I know of coming up in the winter time, like in November, stuff like that. And it'll be announced when it's all, said and done, but can't really say that yet.
I love that. Oh my God, I just thought of something really funny. So we all know I had a starter marriage, which is what I call my first husband. He was a starter marriage. But one of my crowning achievements or revenge thing was I was working with MTV Films, and it was like when Beavis and Butthead existed, another thing that couldn't probably exist in today's world.
Love that show.
But he was in the art department on Come On, Feel the Noise. And their actor didn't show up that day. So he ended up, my starter marriage, he ended up being in the video. He's the guy gets shook on the bed. And then Beavis
the Quiet
and
Riot video?
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
Beavis and Butthead, yeah, they rag on him. So everyone knew at MTV that I was getting divorced and he was unpleasant at best. That's like, he was a total. Anyway, but, I liked broken people then. So anyway, so there's this whole video and they gave it to me. Like I used to have it like on tape, but it's Beavis and Butthead making fun of him. They're like, oh, look at that idiot. Look at he's such an ass. Anyway, and I was like my crowning achievement of my time at MTV Films. But anyway, yeah.
I mean, now
I'll find it. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
YouTube and find this video. That's so funny.
Yeah, we'll have to leave. So we will definitely leave the Killcode Spotify stuff here. So, that's important and where they can find you on YouTube. So thank you, Rob, so much for being here. We know this is how I like to end all my podcasts, which is my favorite question. Drum roll. Come on, give me my drum roll. You're the drummer. Thank you. If you came with a warning label, what would it be?
Oh, I like that. Well, let's see. Can you have a couple of warning labels?
Yeah, go for it.
Let me think. All right. Well, I would first start by saying, and this goes on in life a lot, like, don't mistake, I guess, my kindness, being humbleness, and my silly sense of humor for weakness at any point in time. Don't mistake me not jumping into a conversation and being a good listener for like not already knowing what to do. I like to listen to people and let them kind of, in a way, it's a good thing because I guess it's really not a warning. It's kind of like I'm man enough to want to hear everybody else's, even though I may know and have experience. I like listening to other people's point of views because they might be smarter than me. And the other one was, which I was given by a bunch of people aside from this crazy nickname of mine. They all say I'm 140 pounds of sheer terror. So that's my warning label.
I like that.
Yeah.
That one is definitely true.
Yeah.
You're totally true. I love that. It's so good to connect with you. Thank
Oh
you
my
so
God.
much.
Yes,
really
it was so good.
it.
We have to stay in touch, and I can't wait to see you again. And it was really good. I was so happy you called me, and best of luck with your podcast. And any way I can help, let me know.